We're talking about the threat of the Chinese government on our country. Sam, what do you want to say?
TikTok. It is not news. It is unfettered propaganda.
This is a step-by-step how-to video that walks people through getting to China and then on to the United States.
They're not just coming from China, right?
They're coming from all over, Dr. Phil, but one point I want to make, and you heard the audience reaction. The minute I asked about why he's coming to the United States, he clammed up.
We have a serious problem, and it's not just at our border. America is swiftly but quietly being infiltrated, invaded, and attacked on multiple fronts by the Chinese government, which is controlled by the Chinese Communist Party, or CCP for short. Now, from the heartland to Hollywood, the CCP is believed to be targeting nearly every aspect of American life. Many government officials and business leaders believe the CCP is surveying and harassing American citizens on U.S. city streets, restricting freedom of speech on college campuses, attempting to control our food supply chain, stealing our technology, and influencing how we actually think.
We consistently see that it's the Chinese government that poses the biggest long-term threat to our economic and national security.
The CCP has hacked into American critical infrastructure.
CCP hackers access computer systems of about 24 critical entities, including in Hawaii and in Guam. The hackers even attempted to access the Texas electric grid.
A Chinese surveillance balloon entered U.S. airspace and spent the next 8 days traveling over the majority of the continental United States.
Just across the Brooklyn Bridge, this nondescript office building has a dark secret. An entire floor hosted an undeclared police station of the Chinese National Police.
Imagine telecommunications going down so people can't use their cell phone. People start getting sick from polluted water. Trains get derailed. Air traffic control system, port control systems are malfunctioning. This is truly an everything, everywhere, all at once scenario.
We've become numb to it as a nation. It's estimated that 80% of American adults have had all of their private data stolen by the Communist Party of China.
If we do not address this threat, then the CCP will have the ability to turn off the lights for everyday Americans, shut down cities, and cause massive loss of American lives.
Now, I want to be perfectly clear here. I'm talking about the threat the Chinese government and the CCP pose to America. I am not talking about the Chinese people or Chinese Americans, for sure. The Chinese people oftentimes are the biggest targets and victims of China's authoritarian government and ruling party.
Since October of last year, Border Patrol has reported nearly 10,000 arrests of Chinese nationals that have illegally crossed the southwest border, and the number continues to increase every month. I've confirmed that some of the Chinese nationals coming in have ties to the Chinese Communist Party, and they've been released into the United States.
Well, that's Congressman Mark Green of Tennessee, and like I said earlier, Border Patrol can't vet all of these people. Now, Chris Gutierrez is the senior anchor on Merritt Street Media's Evening News. Recently, he went to the Rio Grande Valley area to get a firsthand look at what's happening on the border, and he's on our news set right now. Chris, are you there?
Dr. Phil, the videos that we found on TikTok are shocking. Take a look. We've got one pulled up in the monitor here behind me, and this is just one of the many videos that are floating around social media right now. In fact, those big, bold letters right up there, it translates to the routing strategy to the beautiful country. And essentially, this is a step-by-step how-to video that walks people through getting to China and then on to the United States. In fact, it goes into great detail about which flights to take, which buses to catch in certain countries. In fact, it encourages people to connect with human smugglers that will help them sneak into Southern California. Listen to this.
You will be able to find a lot of human smugglers once you are in Guatemala. One of them can take you to Mexico. You will be in Mexico City after passing by Capachuca and San Pedro. The human smugglers will contact you once you are in Tijuana. They will drive you to Mexicali. It takes 3.5 hours to cross the desert. They will help you climb the wall to sneak into the beautiful free country, the United States of America.
Now, keep in mind, these videos are spreading across China. I want to show you this map right here because China actually shares a border with Kyrgyzstan. We've highlighted that region in red right there. We met a man from that area. And as we put this map into motion now, the man we met had made his way across the Atlantic into South America. And when we met him, he was actually in Mexico, Reynosa, Mexico, in fact, right across the river from McAllen, Texas. The next part of his journey was to cross the river. We have video of that as well. This is another group of people. You can see they're wading through water that's up to their necks. Some of those dads have children on their shoulders. This guy is clinging on to an inner tube right there. These folks are on their way into American soil. And once they get here, they are in. But for how long, it really depends on who catches them, if anyone catches them at all. If it's a state trooper in the state of Texas, if that's who catches them, they're either going back or they're going to jail. But if the Border Patrol catches them and they say they're seeking asylum, then the next step is they'll be processed and then they are free to roam in our country. In fact, the guy I told you about from Kyrgyzstan, here's what he told me.
How many of your country are here today?
Today?
Yeah.
I think so much. Maybe 20, maybe 25.
How long did it take you to get here?
You mean in Reynosa?
Yes. From your country to here, how many days?
1 month.
1 month. Wow.
1 month.
You're very close to the United States.
I hope.
Yes. Yes.
No.
Where in the United States do you want to go?
I think, I don't know, maybe Philadelphia.
Okay. You have friends there?
I have friends.
Yes.
I have a brother.
Mm-hmm. Why did you leave your country?
It's a problem. That's why I'm coming here. That's why I needed to go in the USA.
Yeah. What happened in your country?
You know, my English is not so good. That's why I cannot much.
Very good.
Sorry.
Chris, they're not just coming from China, right?
They're coming from all over, Dr. Phil, but one point I want to make, and you heard the audience reaction, the minute I asked about why he's coming to the United States, he clammed up, right?
Well, it's English.
His English failed him, is what he said.
Yeah.
But that's part of the asylum process, right? You have to explain why you're coming into the United States, and it's a very narrow scope as to why you can come. You can't come just because you don't have a job, and you can't come because you feel like your family is threatened because you don't have a job, because of financial reasons, right? But you're right, it's not just China. People are coming into our southern border from all over the world. In fact, I got another clip for you right here.
All right, let's take a look at it right quick.
I think we have better participation here than we have in the Olympics. I mean, we see almost every country that's out there, not just Central America, not just South America. I mean, we have Uzbekistan, we have Egypt, we have Somalia, Eritrea, you name it.
You're also seeing people that are on known terrorist watch lists.
And releasing them. I mean, it just takes one person with ill intent is can do a lot of damage to this country. And we have hundreds of thousands that are getting away from us.
Does that keep you up at night?
It used to. It used to.
Yeah, we're doing a lot for these folks once they get here. What's New York doing for the migrants?
Well, New York City, for example, has set aside a debit card program in which they've set aside $53 million of the city budget to give to people who are coming into our country. California, for example, Dr. Phil, they've set aside $1.2 billion that was going to help people with free health care, any age. And then even our own government, Dr. Phil, once you're processed, you get a cell phone in some cases. They'll give you a cell phone. They say it'll help monitor where they're going and they can communicate via an app, but they're getting cell phones as well.
And I'm saying people aren't getting this. You were telling me something, Kyle, at the break about TikTok and news with young people.
We know that TikTok is owned by ByteDance, which is, the algorithm is owned and run by the Chinese government. 1/3 of America's youth between the ages of 18 and 35, 1/3 gets 100% of their news from TikTok today. So you wonder how our universities are turning into what they're turning into as far as with anti-Semitism running rampant and with all of the different kinds of, let's just say, hate that's being propagated, but also this loss of an ability to decide between right and wrong is happening amongst our kids. And it's because the Chinese government is able to broadcast directly into our kids' bedrooms.
Yes.
Without the FCC, without anything else going on. I want to make one point about the border, because I've gone to the border like you many times, and I've followed a group of migrants just to understand how they get to where they're going and what they get. They get a Ziploc bag with some papers, and their name is put on there, whatever name they gave them if they don't have any ID. Now, they might have amazing Nike Jordans and a perfect polo shirt on, but they don't have any ID with them. And they get taken to a detention center, and a bus drives them to the airport. And they get to board a plane with no ID, with a plastic bag and a piece of paper.
We can't even do that.
They say, where do you want to go?
We can't do that.
And they fly all over America, and they say, here's your court date. Your court date's 4 years out. Please come back for your court date here in McAllen, Texas.
Yeah.
I'm telling you, that's what happens. And so it's insane what we do. It is unbelievable that we're letting this happen.
Well, we actually have some very specific instructions that are on TikTok for people about how to get here. The routing to the beautiful country is to first go to Hong Kong, fly to Turkey, then get a ticket to Ecuador. You will be crossing the ocean by boat to enter the rainforest. After walking out of the refugee camp in Panama, get on the bus that takes you to David. It takes about 15 hours. You need to transfer twice to be at the Costa Rica border. They will help you climb the wall to sneak into the beautiful free country, the United States. I mean, it's giving you start here, go there, get a transfer here. You'll take 2 transfers, go there, get here, and then they'll help you climb over the wall.
There is just no country that presents a broader threat to our ideas, our innovation, and our economic security than China.
There literally is a shopping list of technology. And if your company is on that shopping list, please beware. Because whatever means possible will be utilized to acquire that technology if it is critical for the development of the economy in China by the Chinese government.
Okay, we're talking about the threat of the Chinese government on our country. Sam, what do you want to say?
TikTok. It is not news. It is unfettered propaganda. And that's what is so dangerous. It's, on one hand, we're giving unfettered access to an authoritarian regime to shape the public narrative and people's perception of what's happening. But on the other, while I am exercising my right to speak freely and to criticize, to expose what's happening, I get an arrest warrant where I can't actually travel back to where I was born and raised. And that kind of corrosive effect, and I think Rishan would agree with me that what they're doing is to cast a wide net. Because by being here on this show, thank you so much for hosting, for having me here, but by having me, everybody who's on this panel, everybody who's working on this show, are now part of the conspiracy of the criminal enterprise that they're accusing me of being part of. And that's the kind of fear and that's the kind of corrosive effect that the Chinese government is trying to put into us.
Yeah, I'm used to it. We have a picture of you standing in front of a ranch that is really interesting. What's the name of the ranch?
The Morningstar Ranch.
Morningstar Ranch.
Yep.
Tell us about this ranch.
General Soon is one of the wealthiest people in the Communist Party in East Turkestan. He's from where Rushan's from. He's from where the genocide is happening. And somehow, he used a front man in Lufkin, and he acquired more than 100 square miles of land. This is his headquarters. I find it interesting because, you know, in the Bible, the devil's name is Lucifer Morningstar. So you've got a dystopian red star. It's the Morningstar Ranch, and it's the Chinese headquarters down in South Texas. Yeah. And it's wedged between Laughlin Air Force Base and the U.S. border. It's unconscionable that this is happening today, but it's already happened.
And bad part, Dr. Phil, is it's legal.
We are affording the Chinese government a battlefield asymmetry. We are allowing this to be a one-way street. We are open, they are closed. We are supposedly tolerant, they're intolerant. If you have to draw up the battle space in a war, you know who wins if you're not fighting. and we're not fighting. And so we need leadership to drop a battle space and actually tell us who the bad guy is. In the Cold War, we all knew who the bad guys were.
All right, listen, when we come back, I said I was going to talk about the psychology of this. I have friends in the intelligence community, and they have intercepted a document actually from communist Russia that talked about the subversion of the American society. And I'm actually wondering if China is just doing a better job of it. And it's a document on psychopolitics, the art and science of asserting and maintaining dominion over the thoughts and loyalties of individuals, officers, bureaus, and masses, and the effecting of the conquest of enemy nations through mental healing. Long-term plan to brainwash, demoralize, and thereby destroy an entire nation. And according to Yuri Alexandrovich Bezmenov, to change the perception of reality of every American to such an extent that despite the abundance of information, no one is able to come to sensible conclusions in the interest of defending themselves, their families, their community, and their country. Now, the disturbing thing about this is in that intercepted document, it says they're actually doing it for us. We don't really need to push this. And that really concerns me. And it really concerns me because we can do something about that. We need to make sure we're taking care of who we are. And I've said, I don't want anybody to hear anything that's been said here today as being anti-Asian in any way. That's not the problem. The problem is with the government, and the Chinese citizens are victimized by it as much as anybody. And I also want to be very clear. I'm very pro-immigration. We need immigrants in this country. I would just kind of like to know who they are. I'd kind of like to know who's coming across the border. This country was built on immigrants. The difference was, when that originally happened, we weren't a welfare state. And everybody that came here had to work really hard. This country was built on a meritocracy where we valued contribution. We rewarded people for added value. And that's what has to happen.